Today we're learning about percents, fractions, and decimals. Our goal is that we can compare and convert percents, fractions, and decimals. We're going to copy this and complete the table on this page. I need you each to pause the video and copy this whole thing down. We'll go through the first couple together. Then what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you're comfortable, to go ahead and pause it, fill it in, and come back and check it with mine. If you're not comfortable, then you can stick with me and go through it. But go ahead and pause it right now and then come back and we'll fill it in together. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me. I am at home filling this in today because of all the snow that we've had, and I'm writing this with my computer, so pardon me if it's not as fluid as normal. So 3/10, if you say it correctly, it sounds just like what it is, and it is, where's my pen? There's my pen. 3/10. And if you recall back from our study of percents and decimals, and I know you guys spent a lot of time on this in 6th grade also, converting decimals and percents, 3/10 is just multiplying your decimal by 100. So it's 3/10 is 30%. And if you remember, we did a lot with our ratios, where we would have taken 3 out of 10 equal to 30 out of 100. Now, if you remember from our study of fractions, 4/5 can be converted into 8/10. So if you think of that one, you've got 8. Oh, where did my pen go? Hopefully I've got it. Yep, 8/10. And then again, just following the same thing, multiplying that by 100, we get 80%. Okay, so keeping going with that. Now, when it's tenths, it's very much easier than as it gets a little bit more complicated. 76%, not so complicated to change to a decimal, because we simply move our decimal from this point behind the 6 over to in front of the 7. So it is simply 76 hundredths. Now, 76 hundredths, not too difficult. 76 out of 100. But as you guys always know, we do not leave them as 76 out of 100, because that can be simplified. So if you look at that, hopefully you can see that both of those numbers can be divided by 4. If you don't see that they both can be divided by 4, you of course could be seeing that they divide by 2. Now, I am going to go ahead and simplify that. I'm going to pause it though, because this is kind of slow and tedious. So I will go ahead and do that and then come back with it done. So when you work that one out, you get 19/25. But again, like I said, if you didn't see that both of those were divisible by 4, you would do divide by 2 divided by 2 on the top and the bottom, and then you would hopefully see that both of those could be divided farther and simplified more. Okay, so at this point, if you're comfortable, go ahead and pause it and go ahead and fill out the rest of the chart. If you're not comfortable, stick with me, we'll keep going. So 22 hundredths, obviously, when you say it correctly, as I try to encourage you all to do, you get 22 over 100, 22 hundredths. All right. Again, we can simplify that. When we simplify that, you see that we get the 11/50ths that I've got written there. And when we move this here, we just move this 2 places over to our right to get, or multiply it by 100 to be more mathematically accurate, and we get 22%. All right, this one's a little bit more complicated. 5 6. By just taking a calculator, you would do 5 divided by 6. And to do that, or if you're using a proportion, you do 5 over 6, which is equal to, and if you remember our proportion study, something over 100. So that something right here, when you work it out, is going to give you 83 with the 3 repeating. Okay? So if we want to be a little bit more specific, let's do this. Let's do this. So we'll put it there with that repeating, so that when we come over here, we display it as 83 and 3/10 repeating. And quite truthfully, you could, in all honesty, put it that as 83 and 3/10%, and that would be okay. But the 3/10 repeating is more accurate. Okay, so now this one right here, we've got 130%, which we move our decimal from here over to be in between the 1 and the 3. So we get 1 and 3. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm doing the decimal right away, or the fraction right away. Let's go back to here and erase that. All right, I'm jumping ahead. All right, so we get 1 and 3/10. And here we get 1 and 3/10. It makes it so much easier when you actually say your decimals correctly. Okay, so moving on, because I am taking my sweet old time with this apparently. All right, so these next slides are pretty much talking about what I've already done. There's a lot to write. Write in your own words what you need to write. Pause so you can get it, because there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with my speaking. But that's the beauty of being able to do this at your own pace at your home. So the first question is, how do you convert a decimal into a fraction? You say the decimal out loud, write what you said as a fraction, and simplify it if possible. Say the decimal out loud properly, write what you said as a fraction, and simplify it if possible. Next, how do you convert a decimal into a percent? Multiply the decimal by 100, which means to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. Whether the final answer is a number between 0 and 100, contains a decimal, or is greater than 100, the process will remain the same. That's important that you remember that part, because a number can't, a percent can be greater than 100, as we saw in our last column. All right, converting fractions. How do you convert a fraction into a decimal? Divide the numerator by the denominator. Do not round unless you are asked to. If the number repeats, be sure to use the repeating bar as at the appropriate place when writing the final decimal. How do you convert a fraction into a percent? Method 1, convert the fraction into a decimal, then convert the decimal into a percent by multiplying the decimal by 100. All right, sorry, I had to take a deep breath. Method 2, set up and solve a proportion in which the given fraction is the first ratio and the second ratio is set up as some number over 100. For example, convert 3/4 into a percent. So here we've got 3/4. Let me get rid of this so we can extend it. Actually, I don't think we need to. 3/4 equals x over 100. So if you look at this, how do I get from 4 to 100? Well, hopefully you look at this and you see, oh, I multiply by 25. We could always cross multiply, but why when we've got something that's as easy as that? So anything I do to one, I have to do to the other. So we're going this way because we went this way here, right? So we're going to multiply by 25. Okay, so what's 3 times 25? Well, 3 times 25, hopefully you're getting 75 ways to do that. So x is 75. Hopefully that looks familiar. We did this earlier in the year. Moving on, converting percents. How do you convert a percent into a decimal? Divide the given percent by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Take that in. Divide the given percent by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So your decimal is going now from here this way, okay, to the left. All right. I know I didn't actually draw anything, but you can see the motion of my pen. All right, moving on. Next, how do you convert a percent into a fraction? Set up the given percent as a fraction over 100, then simplify it if possible. So if you just look back at any of the ones that we did in our chart, you could take any of these numbers, 30 over 100. So let's go ahead and do that if it helps you. 30 over 100, because it's 30%, so 30 out of 100, and then simplify it. And you would divide both of these by 10, so you get 3 over 10. Okay? All right. Hopefully those made sense. Now we're going to practice all of them, which, oh, actually we're not straight out practicing. We're just looking for the ones that are equivalent, is or are, which expressions, it might just be one, might be more than one. Looking for things that are equivalent to 25% of 150. Okay, so I'm going to pause it and work them out myself and let you work them out too. Okay, so hopefully you looked at this, you might have worked it out, but you know that 25% of means multiply 150. So 25%, hopefully you're looking at this and going, well, 25% is 1/4. They are the same thing. So that means that these two right here, this one right here, would be the same thing. 0.25 or 25 hundredths is the same as 25%. So this one's the same. 25 and 25%, they are not the same thing. And 150 divided by 4, is that going to be the same thing? That's a good question. Well, hopefully you know that 1/4 times 150 and 150 divided by 4 would give you the same result. So that would be the same thing. And if anybody is curious, the answer to this, hopefully you guys checked it, was this. And you could work any of those out and you're going to get the same result. All right, next one. Which expressions are the same as 3/4 of 100? So again, we're looking at 3/4 times 100. So you're looking to see which ones of these problems are the same as 3/4, which numbers of these are the same as 3/4. So go ahead and pause it and work them out. And I'm going to go ahead and find the answer just so I can do like I did with the last one. Okay, so 3/4. Again, hopefully you looked at that and saw that that is going to be 75% or 75 hundredths. So hopefully you got this one and this one, and you saw that this one does not work, this one does not work, and hopefully as soon as you saw it, looked at it like that, like I did, looked at it and said, oh, well, duh, if it's 75% of 100, that's just 75. And that one's pretty straightforward and easy. Okay, so this was it. If you have questions, I hope you wrote them down so that we can look at them together in class next time we're together. And I apologize again for the length of this lesson because it took me a while to write. I should have paused more when I wrote. Sorry, guys. All right, see you next time. Bye.